Barbados-based political analyst Peter Wickham believes outgoing Nevis Reformation Party (NRP) leader Joseph Parry has done well as leader of his party and Premier of Nevis. Mr. Wickham was speaking in an exclusive interview with Skn Newsline at the announcement this week that Mr. Parry will be stepping down as leader of the NRP.
Yeah, Premier Parry did very well. His style is different to that of certainly Premier Emery and also currently Premier Brantley. But nonetheless, I think he did well. He did well to bring the NRP to where it was. And I mean, you have to appreciate the fact that the first time that they took power in recent times, it was essentially on the back of efforts on his part. So I think that he has nothing to be ashamed of in terms of his contribution. And I think there's a lot about him that one can admire. In fact, that he's a businessman, a very slightly less loudly spoken business person, and he has done well to be able to bring the NRP into this situation now. The challenge going forward, however, is that one has to ask oneself if this is enough to carry the NRP to the next step.
Mr. Parry, in his New Year's address this week, announced that he's stepping down as leader of the NRP.
My intention over the next few weeks is to step down as leader of the Nevis Reformation Party. It is important that I give that party the opportunity to organize the transition period so that we can have a smooth movement from the present situation to one that will strengthen the party for the future. I have served for 38 years in the public service without counting my teaching experience. It is time now for me to refresh myself and move in another direction and pass that baton on. But I can assure you, the people of Nevis, and all those young people, I'll be there to advise and to assist in any way that I can.
He congratulated Premier Mark Brantley and the Concerned Citizens Movement for their December 18th victory at the polls.
I want to congratulate the Concerned Citizens Movement and Mr. Brantley for their victory. And I want to say to him, be humble in victory. The people of Nevis, or those who voted in the elections, made their choice. And it is for us to accept the results as they have been presented. That is not to say that we should not retire gracefully and be proud of our conduct and our past performances.
Mr. Parry is the lone elected member of the NRP in the Nevis Island Assembly. Andre Huey, Skn Newsline. Police have reported that, acting on information received, they have located 15-year-old Tanisha Keynes, who was reported missing since December 27th. She was found in Connery just before midday on Saturday, January 6th, and was taken to the Skn Hospital for medical assistance. She is in stable condition. The Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force, in a press release, says it thanks all the persons who in one way or another assisted with helping to locate Tanisha. Tanisha was reported missing since December 27th at about 7 p.m. In other police news, investigations have led the police to allow a pathologist to determine the cause of death of a man who was reported as having drowned at Friars Bay in the Southeast Peninsula. On Thursday afternoon, on January 4th, police responded to a report of a drowning at Friars Bay. Reports indicate that a 29-year-old Torday Burrows of Keon was at Carambola with friends, where he later went into the water. Reports also indicate that after a while he was not seen, and when his friends went looking for him, they noticed that he was floating on the water. The emergency medical service was called and Burrows was transported to the Skn Hospital, where he was pronounced dead by Dr. Hiates. The autopsy will be performed shortly. Police investigations into the matter are ongoing. Andre Huey, Skn Newsline. The police are investigating the shooting death of 19-year-old Cleon Brown in Nevis. He was originally from Rollins Pasture, Newcastle, but resided at Rollins Village, Gingerland. At about 11:55 a.m. on Wednesday, the Gingerland police station received a report of a shooting incident. Upon arrival at the scene, officers found Brown along the roadside in Rollins Village with what appeared to be gunshot wounds to the body. He was transported to the Alexandra Hospital and was pronounced dead upon arrival. The scene was processed by crime scene technicians, and a number of spent shells were taken into police custody. Police are appealing with anyone with information regarding this incident to call the Violent Crime Unit at the Cotton Ground Police Station at 469-5269, the Gingerland Police Station at 469-3448, or the nearest police station or Crime Stoppers at 1-800-8477. That's 1-800-TIPS. Andre Huey, Skn Newsline. A woman who was found dead in a home on Hanley's Road, Nevis, is said to have died from blows to the head. According to police, a post-mortem examination was conducted on the body of the late Shirley Dawn Morton of Hanley's Road on Monday, January 22nd. The examination conducted by forensic pathologist Dr. Valerie Alexandrov concluded that the cause of death was multiple blunt force traumas to the head, causing brain injury. Police investigations into the matter are ongoing, and a person of interest is being sought. Wanted by the police for questioning is Wayne Spire Chapman, who is the owner of the house in which Morton's body was found. He was also the boyfriend of the deceased. Meanwhile, the police said it notes what it describes as false reports being circulated shortly following the discovery of Morton's body. The High Command of the police force is urging both individuals and media entities alike to disseminate information with greater caution and empathy, as the negative effects of such false reports are far-reaching and can have an impact on the family of the deceased. Persons with information regarding the matter are urged to assist by calling the Violent Crime Unit at the Cotton Ground Police Station at 469-5269, the Gingerland Police Station at 469-3448, the nearest police station, or Crime Stoppers at 1-800-TIPS. Andre Huey, Skn Newsline. Attorney General Vincent Byron has announced that his office has instituted legal proceedings against opposition leader Dr. Denzel Douglas because he possesses a diplomatic passport from Dominica. The Attorney General was speaking in the National Assembly earlier this week.
Dr. Denzel Douglas became disqualified from being elected as a member of the National Assembly and was accordingly required to vacate his seat in the National Assembly by reason of his becoming a person who, by virtue of his own act, in accordance with the law of the Commonwealth of Dominica, under an acknowledgement of allegiance, obedience, or adherence to a foreign power or state, namely the said Commonwealth of Dominica. 2, a declaration that Dr. Denzel Douglas has vacated his seat in the National Assembly of St. Kitts, has vacated his seat in the National Assembly of St. Kitts and Nevis.
The Attorney General said, additionally, costs an injunction restraining Dr. Douglas from sitting in the National Assembly and performing his duties as a member are being sought.
An injunction restraining Dr. Denzel Douglas from taking his seat in the National Assembly and from performing his functions as a member thereof. 4, costs. And 5, such further or other relief as this honorable House, as this honorable court, beg your pardon, may deem just and expedient.
Attorney General Byron stated to the House that Dr. Douglas was issued a diplomatic passport with number DP 0000462 by the Commonwealth of Dominica, which recorded him as being a citizen of the Commonwealth of Dominica. According to Attorney General Byron, the law of Dominica requires all citizens to swear an oath of allegiance upon being registered as a citizen, and that by common law of Dominica, a person who possesses and/or travels on a Dominica passport is under acknowledgement of allegiance to Dominica. Dr. Douglas has previously denied that he's a citizen of another country and has repeatedly said that the government is seeking to deflect from the issues affecting the country. Andre Huey, Skn Newsline. Beach bar owners on Friars Beach are being evicted from the property and have been given until the end of February to vacate. John Francis, the owner of the Godfather Beach Bar on Friars Beach, told Skn Newsline Tuesday that all the owners of establishments on the beach have been served letters to that effect from a company headquartered in Kuwait that owns the property.
We got a letter from the owners of the representatives, the lawyers, lawyers for the owners of the property. We got that letter on, when was it? On Saturday. It was served to me on Saturday by the bailiff that we had notice to quit the property and to remove the whole structures and leave it in a sanitary situation within 28 days.
Mr. Francis said he has been operating his bar since 2005, but it was only 5 years ago that a contractual arrangement with the beach bar owners and the property owners was put in place.
We have a lease. We were given a lease, I think, 5 years ago, to occupy the beach, to run a commercial enterprise. In other words, to do our beach bar operations. That's the lease that we have.
You've been here how long?
I myself, I've had this bar since 2005.
And you were only given a lease 5 years ago?
5 years ago.
So what was your arrangement before that?
Then we were all squatting here. It's a sort of a general, common law practice that has gone on in St. Kitts for the last, since we entered tourism. You know, entrepreneurs took spaces on the beach. You know, first of all they put their cooler, then afterwards they put a shade, an umbrella, a chair, and then they developed customers, mainly tourists or people who visit the islands, and eventually they have a beach bar as such.
Mr. Francis said he and the other owners had formed an NGO to discuss matters pertaining to their operations on the beach. Now that group is expected to work together to challenge the decision by the owners.
So we will band together and we will of course get individual counselling. We will have individual lawyers of course, but then we need very soon to come together and speak as a single voice, both to the landlord and their representative, their lawyers, to the government of course, and of course to the media and whoever, and the people, and to let them know what's going on, because what is happening here will and does affect everybody in St. Kitts. Not everybody, but also the wildlife that's happening in St. Kitts, because over here it's wetlands.
While not sure definitively what the area will be used for by the owners, Mr. Francis said he understands a hotel development will be built there. He's concerned that the natural environment would be compromised if such a development were to be constructed in that area. Andre Huey, Skn Newsline.
At Nagico, the things that matter to you matter to us. Like your boat when you're at sea and you get away from everything. Your home and the security of your daughter's things. And the car that you've had for too long, but after all these years, you just can't let go. At Nagico, we're about much more than just insurance. We're about the big things and the small things that mean everything.
Meridian Medical Pharmacy is the best place to get your pharmaceutical products. We make filling prescriptions easy. Our well-stocked pharmacies are ready to serve you. Check us for medical supplies, skin products, supplements, and so much more. Ask about flu vaccines. At Meridian Medical Pharmacy, we are focused on offering a professional, personalized pharmacy experience. Our service is personal, compassionate, and friendly. Located at our state-of-the-art medical facilities at the corner of South Independence Square Street and Adlam Street, downtown Bastyr, St. Kitts. And now we have a new branch on Frigate Bay Road in the Sugars Complex. Call 465-5096 and 465-3306 or email pharmacy@meridianmedcons.com. Visit Meridian Medical Pharmacy today and experience professional, customer care and fast prescription fill-in service. Meridian Medical Pharmacy.
How does it feel when you got that feeling? You got the flavor you love. How does it feel when you know you're not dreaming? There is nothing above. So good when you
when things come together? How you feel when everything nice? How you feel when you're up on your ends with your friends? Everybody holding a vibe now. How you feel when things come together? How you feel when everything nice? How you feel when you savor the flavor, the feeling you get when you taste every bite?
So good when you get that meal. So good is the way you feel. So good at the time of day. So good is what you say. So good when you dance all night. So good it tastes just right. So good the place to be. So good it's KFC.
11 whales were beached along the shore in Indian Castle, Nevis on Saturday. According to reports, 7 of these whales died and 4 were safely returned to sea. Reports are that the whales were washed ashore and several residents and volunteers were observed trying to return them to open sea. Premier Mark Brandley on his Twitter page posted videos of the whales on shore and the recovery efforts to return them to safety. In one of his posts, he noted that 4 had already died, but efforts were underway to save the rest. 3 hours later, he updated his post to say 7 had died, but 4 were safely returned to sea. This is not the first time whales were found ashore in Nevis. In February 2016, a whale measured at 25 feet in length was found dead on shore in New River. In May last year, 3 pilot whales were washed ashore and died at Brandy's Point in Indian Castle, each measuring about 8 to 10 feet long. Whale sightings are a regular occurrence in the waters between Nevis and Montserrat at this time of the year. It is estimated that around 200 whales come here every February through March to give birth in the waters between Nevis and Montserrat. They are usually more visible on the Atlantic side of the islands. Andre Huey, Skn Newsline.
The government of St. Kitts and Nevis announced that a Ritz-Carlton hotel will be constructed on the southeast peninsula at Friars Beach. Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris spoke about this development at a recent press conference.
That the Ritz-Carlton Resort will create over 300 new jobs when construction starts, and they expect to start later on this year in 2018. So this says that they are delighted to work with the government. And from here, I say to them, it will be a delight to work with them on behalf of the people. I want to commend all those in the private sector and in the public sector, the Minister of Tourism and all the other entities who have been working to deliver to these entities arrangements which make St. Kitts and Nevis their preferential choice.
Recently, news broke that the beach bar owners at Friars Beach were evicted from the area to make a way for this hotel. The development has sparked criticisms from the public on talk shows and on social media that object to the bars being removed. Some think the beach will be restricted from the public with such a project, while others believe the natural wetland in the area will be destroyed at the expense of tourism development. Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris said the government met with the bar owners last week and said it would assist in having the owners of the property grant more time to the beach bar owners to evacuate the property.
My cabinet invited bar operators to attend a meeting of the cabinet. They were amazed that the cabinet would, as it were, take time to deal with what they consider the ordinary troubles. But it was we who were honored by their presence, that they would come to us and to discuss the matter of their leasehold tenancy at South Friars Bay. I want to thank the operators of Shipwreck, Godfather Bar, Discovery, and Sunset Bars for gracing us with their presence and updating us with regard to their realities. The truth be told, almost all the lands at the peninsula are now privately owned. Lands they are not owned by the government. Indeed, when the former administration acquired lands there, some 852 acres, they ceded such lands to foreign private interests.
The Prime Minister reiterated that members of the public cannot be restricted to the beaches on island.
And I don't know how many times I will have to say that all beaches are public beaches in St. Kitts and Nevis. And we pledge that under the team administration, there will be no diminution in terms of adherence and compliance with the law. If we have to fight, we will fight to enforce the law on behalf of our local people in St. Kitts and Nevis.
Design details on the new Ritz-Carlton project have not yet been announced. I'm Chantel Rochester for Skn Newsline.
Supporters and parliamentarians of the opposition St. Kitts and Nevis Labour Party on Wednesday afternoon protested the suspension of MP Conris Maynard from Parliament. Supporters and party members held placards bearing messages berating Speaker of the House Michael Perkins for what they deem as his attempts to stifle democracy. Opposition leader Dr. Denzil Douglas said the party is calling for the suspension of Mr. Maynard to be rescinded.
Supporters' action follows from our town hall meeting which we held last night at OJ's in Bastia. And there we indicated that if by this morning at 12 o'clock we had not heard that the Speaker had rescinded his earlier decision to suspend our honourable colleague, the Honourable Conris Maynard, the elected representative for constituency number 3. If he had not rescinded his illegal suspension of that honourable gentleman for 10 days, then we would accompany him to the Parliament as we are doing here on the streets, on Church Street in Bastia today.
Dr. Douglas said if the suspension is not rescinded, the party will meet to decide the next step forward.
We, at the appropriate time, will take our place in the Parliament, accompanied by the Honourable Conris Maynard. And that is why we are here. We are here to make sure that the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, the people of the world, understand that there is a serious threat to democracy here in our country, where parliamentarians are not only prevented from speaking on bills, which we have the right to according to the standing orders, but that we are arbitrarily suspended even when the suspension is illegal. And the pig-headed Speaker refuses to listen even when his own minutes demonstrate to him that he's wrong.
Now, after this action, if the Speaker does not rescind the suspension, what does the Labour Party intend to do?
The Labour Party intends to continue its protest.
Opposition MP Conris Maynard told Skn Newsline that the party will continue protesting until his suspension is rescinded. Last week, Speaker of the House Michael Perkins suspended Mr. Maynard for what he deemed gross disrespect towards his ruling in the House. The Speaker had given permission to Government MP Ian Liber to address the House on the SCASPA Amendment Bill, though the opposition leader Dr. Douglas claimed it was the opposition's turn to address the debate. Mr. Maynard protested the decision of the Speaker. The opposition members eventually walked out of the House, which followed the Speaker's suspension ruling. However, Mr. Maynard maintains that the Speaker's decision was incorrect.
In order for any motion to pass for suspension in the National Assembly, there must be a question put and a vote taken. The Speaker, however, has bypassed that procedural step and has unilaterally suspended members from the House, including Dr. Douglas a few weeks ago and myself last week. But what was interesting last week is that the Speaker purported to suspend my service for 10 days when the rules only allow a suspension of 10 days after you would have first been suspended for 5 days. And the record will show that I have never been duly suspended from the service of the Parliament for 5 days before. And so he is arbitrarily applying a rule that he does not have the legal authority to do so.
The National Assembly was scheduled to meet on Wednesday. Reporting from Church Street for Skn Newsline, I'm Andre Huey. A deal has been worked out for the Friars Bay Beach Bar owners who were evicted from the property to make way for the construction of the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. Last month, the beach bar owners at the Friars Bay were given till the end of February to vacate the property. They have sought the intervention of the government. Tourism Minister Lindsay Grant gave an update on this intervention.
I met with the owner, along with Frigate Bay Development's chairman and the general manager, with the owners of Shipwreck and Discovery Bar, which are the two rail operators over there. And although on the Frigate Bay Strip, we only had 4 spaces available, 4 spaces available, and we had already internally decided who they were going to be given to, we pulled back on that and decided in the national interest, we are going to offer the bar owners the spots on the Frigate Bay Strip. The owners of the land at Southeast Peninsula, they're going to wipe off whatever arrears they have for rent. They're going to give them a year rent cash in the hand, meaning if they were paying $100 a month to the owners are going to give them 100 times 12 in their hand cash. They have done that. They have given them money to move, which they didn't have to do. And on top of that, the government has offered the bar owners a year rent free. Well, I think that's enough.
Mr. Grant said he believes the deal the beach bar owners got is in the best interest of all the parties involved.
We believe from this side of the government that this matter would resolve in a matter of a few days, which would allow the developers to get their free and clear title, have this transaction consummated, the deal go through, and at the end of the day, hundreds of persons from Skn Newsline employed. That is what we would like to see happen. And so the government, on our part, we have done what we believe was necessary for the preservation of the businesses of the vendors, of the person in the Friars Bay. And in addition, to preserve the bigger issue, or a corresponding big issue, is to preserve hundreds of jobs and economic activity, millions of dollars pumping into this economy for the people and for the benefit of the citizens of Skn Newsline.
The opposition Skn Newsline Labour Party had argued that the government was deceptive in the way they handled this matter, as it knew that the resort was being built, yet did not inform the beach bar owners until there was public outcry. The government claimed that the lands of the Southeast Peninsula are privately owned, and there is little it could do to avert the development. However, they praised the arrival of the resort as it will provide some 250 jobs to the island, while boosting the luxury tourism stock of the destination. Andre Huey, Skn Newsline.
More time, but we are ready. They're not ready, but we are ready.
That was the response from opposition leader Dr. Denzel Douglas after Monday's court session in the Bastia High Court to hear the civil case brought against him by Attorney General Vincent Byron, challenging his eligibility as Member of Parliament. Dr. Douglas has been accused by the government of possessing a diplomatic passport from Dominica, making him ineligible to sit in the Parliament as he has allegiance to a foreign power. Dr. Douglas's response Monday was triggered from the request by the Attorney General, represented by legal counsel Taliba Byron, for more time to respond to Dr. Douglas's affidavit. Ms. Byron informed Judge Justice Trevor Ward that the government's senior counsel, Douglas Mendes, was unavailable, and he needed more time to respond to Dr. Douglas's affidavit and to find expert witness on the laws of the Commonwealth of Dominica. Dr. Douglas's lawyer, Attorney Sylvester Anthony, spoke to journalists after Monday's session at the High Court.
So the court has made an order giving the claimants additional time to file a responding affidavit. We have reserved the right to file additional affidavits in the event that any new evidence is introduced in their responding affidavits. And the court has set some dates in relation to the next hearing so that the applications for the expert witness can be heard. And a date of the 20th of April has been set for the hearing of those applications.
Meanwhile, Dr. Douglas told the media afterwards that the result of Monday's session proves that the government is harassing him as the leader of the opposition.
I want to thank my lawyers for being here to represent me, and of course to thank my colleague, the Honorable Marcelo Liebert, for sitting with me as we await the proceedings as directed by the judge. It's amazing that they filed a claim against me. We responded within the time that the court indicated that we should respond, which is today, and appear for hearing. They having received our responses are now asking the court to give them extra time beyond the normal 14 days that are required. Well, obviously, this again, I emphasize, is part of the political charade that is pursued in this particular matter. I don't believe that there's any seriousness except to harass myself as the leader of the Skn Newsline Labour Party and in fact the leader of the opposition. But with good support from our lawyers and from the people, especially those of constituency number 6, we shall prevail.
Ms. Byron refrained from commenting to the media immediately after Monday's session. Efforts to contact her by Skn Newsline were unsuccessful. Dr. Douglas greeted a small pool of Labour Party supporters outside the courthouse on Monday. Dr. Douglas has argued that he has sworn no allegiance to a foreign power, but has refused to say whether or not he has a diplomatic passport from Dominica. Andre Huey, Skn Newsline. A double homicide occurred in Keys Village Thursday. Up to news time, an official report had not been issued by police as the matter was still being investigated. However, Skn Newsline understands that 2 young women, Jamila French, aged 21 years, and Naomi French, aged 18 years, were attacked by a 35-year-old man with whom Naomi French may have been romantically involved. Both are seen in this photograph obtained by Skn Newsline. The man seen in this picture with one of the girls is said to be the suspect. Reports reaching Skn Newsline suggest that the man brought police officers to where the bodies of the young women were located and the weapon used to kill them. He is believed to be in police custody. In a statement Thursday evening, the Ministry of Social Services, Gender Affairs and Community Development expressed sadness at the incident. A spokesperson for the ministry noted that the deaths of these 2 young women are apparently the result of gender-based violence, which the ministry fully condemns. The spokesperson said, quote, "The ministry, in particular the Department of Gender Affairs, wishes to admonish the public that domestic and gender-based violence can never be the solution to handling conflict. Our people need to be more tolerant of each other, practice emotional maturity, and learn to exercise restraint instead of yielding to the urge to become violent when conflict arises." End quote. Skn Newsline extends condolences to the family of the victims. We'll provide more information as it becomes available. Andre Huey, Skn Newsline.
Members of the Team Unity government has sought to assure supporters that the coalition government is together and stronger than ever, despite suspicions in the public domain and on social media that rifts are brewing within the government. Leader of the People's Action Movement, PAM, and Deputy Prime Minister Sean Richards has declared that his party has given its full support to the People's Labour Party, PLP, led by Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris. He was speaking at the party's convention at the Patsy Allers playing field in St. Johnston's Village.
All here giving support to PLP because we recognize the importance of team unity. 3 different political parties working together as one to bring growth and development to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. PLP, I congratulate you on this, your 2nd annual national convention.
Mr. Richards declared that there is a common enemy for all the parties in the coalition and the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, most like referring to the leader of the opposition and former Prime Minister Dr. Denzel Douglas.
We have a common enemy. PAM has a common enemy. CCM has a common enemy. PLP has a common enemy. But most importantly, there's a common enemy against you, the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. And we have to continue to work to ensure that we are able to develop and keep the common enemy away from all of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Meanwhile, Deputy Premier reassured the support of the Concerned Citizens Movement in Nevis to the Team Unity coalition.
And what better three parties could have formed Team Unity? The People's Labour Party that put people first. The People's Action Movement, speaking about people again. And you know what? With people in an island or in a country, we are all citizens, so you have the Concerned Citizens Movement. The Concerned Citizens Movement. So three entities that put people front and foremost in what they do. And that is why we have talked about people matter more. People matters most. And that is what is going to happen come the next election. People are going to decide who determines the next government, and it will be your Team Unity administration.
In recent days, supporters of Team Unity have claimed that rumors are rife on social media, suggesting that the PLP is seeking to run additional candidates when the next elections are called in an attempt to usurp PAM, which currently has the most seats in the coalition. The opposition has also challenged PAM members of parliament to challenge Dr. Harris, who they describe as a dictator. The Team Unity coalition is made up of the CCM in Nevis with 2 seats, the PLP with 1 seat, and the PAM with 4 seats. I am Michelle Rodriguez for Skn Newsline.
The government recently announced 2 major hotel developments that will be constructed on St. Kitts and Nevis. These are the Six Senses Hotel Resort and Spa at La Valley and Sea City Ultra Luxury Seabourn Semi-Submerged Floating Residence and Hotel Resort. Sunday, March 4th, 2018, the government inked a historic agreement with the owners of Six Senses Hotel Resorts and Spas. Mr. Azaria Mohammed, Vice Chairman of Range Developments, said for a Caribbean government to conclude a deal with a developer within 66 days to the highest international standards is a remarkable achievement. Prime Minister, the Honorable Timothy Harris, said the agreement signed on Sunday includes a number of incentives and commitments bargained for by the government. The recommendations include over 10,000 hours spent on an annual basis by hotel employees on community service activities, 15 internships to hospitality students annually, and 10 entrepreneurial scholarships of EC $25,000. As for Sea City, Minister of Tourism Lindsay Grant said that the resort will showcase the importance of environmental protection and the life prerequisites of environmental subsistence. Mr. Grant also said, once completed, Sea City, St. Kitts and Nevis will be an exclusive, the first of its kind, ultra-luxurious underwater living experience and lifestyle unlike anything you've ever seen. To date, the developers sought to capture the significance of sharing this beautiful island resort. I am Chiari Morrison, Skn Newsline.
Creole Restaurant and Bar at the Sugars Complex specializes in authentic local and Caribbean cuisine. Visit us every day for our fine dishes, excellent juices, and great customer service. Why cook on Fridays? Try our Friday buffet lunch menu of spice, rub ribs, stewed chicken, wings with seasoned rice, crepes, organic mixed salad, sweet potato pie, steamed vegetables, and so much more. Get a complimentary drink with the buffet only at $45 EC, or try our lunch special every day. There is something sumptuous in store. Creole Restaurant and Bar, located upstairs Sugars Complex. Call 465-2473 or 662-2473. Creole Restaurant and Bar, the perfect getaway.
Change the way you watch TV. Introducing EarTV KN, the new way to watch TV. Watch real-time TV, your favorite shows and channels on any smart TV or mobile device from any location. Starting as low as $75 per month, get up to 3 devices connected on one account. With EarTV, you can watch movies on demand. Over 4,000 titles to choose from, with 3-day trials available. Works on Amazon Fire TV devices, Android phone tablets, and Apple iPhone and iPad. Includes over 500 channels in HD and 4K. Simple to use plug-in and play technology, and pay as you go month to month. No long-term commitments, no cancellation fee, and get professional support. Call us to subscribe to EarTV KN at 869-661-2478 or check us out on Facebook. Make your television experience greater by getting EarTV KN now. Incredible, impressive, and affordable. EarTV KN.
The Cable, we provide much more than just the fastest and most reliable internet service. We fill the homes of all our customers with joy and laughter. Our services connect friends and keep families together. With the most extensive fiber optic network, we ensure that you can enjoy the things you love with the people you love. Whether it's catching up with family or old friends, or simply just enjoying your favorite TV shows, people choose the Cable because quality shows.
20 St. Kitts and Nevis junior athletes returned to a special welcome at the RLB International Airport Tuesday afternoon after cupping medals in 4 events at the just concluded Carifta Games in the Bahamas. Greeting the athletes were members of the St. Kitts Nevis Amateur Athletics Association, the Skn AAA, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Sports, Sean Richards, the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Sports, Stanley Knight, Mr. Anthony Wilshire, Director of the Department of Sports, the media, and some of the family members of the athletes. In a welcome reception in the VIP lounge at the airport, Coach Roter Jackson disclosed that the team was hit by injuries and illnesses when they arrived in the Bahamas, but despite those challenges, still rose to the occasion. She said if the athletes were not injured, the Federation would have won more medals.
Sharon Hamilton had a fractured big toe, which I had to use Scotch tape and tape them together, tape all his toes together, then tape his toes within the socks in order for him to really perform. So we can all see that these children, they have guts and more guts. Now, Leroy and Janaza, they are 2 of our top 400 4x4 athletes. Because of illnesses, we had to take them out and use our 100-meter runners. Imagine, you have sprinters, really, 400 is a sprint nowadays, but to move from 100 meters to come and do a 400 is very difficult on your glutes. And I say thank you to Marcus and Tajari for stepping up to the plate.
The star of the moment was gold medalist Trishani Warner, who shocked the championships to claim gold in the girls' under-17 800 meters. Her mother was on hand to greet her at the airport with a gift. President of the Skn AAA, Val Henry, who accompanied the athletes along with Skn AAA General Secretary Keith Phillip, commended all the athletes, especially Warner, for her exploits.
Before leaving, her mother said to me, and I'm sure you know the mother very well, I won't attempt to say it in her speech, but she said to me as fast as she could speak, and you know she speaks very fast, Trishani is going to come back home with the gold. And she wasn't just casually saying it. She believed it. She meant it. And today, her prediction has materialized.
Mr. Henry showered praises on the entire contingent for pushing themselves despite the injury, all in the name of making St. Kitts and Nevis proud.
But there's one other athlete, the others were ill, that I really truly want to say a grateful thank you to. and that is Timothy Keynes. And I remember he was going around the track, and when he reached about by the, say, what would be the 300-meter mark or thereabout, you could have seen the pain he was going through. And instead of stopping, Timothy continued. He didn't care what placement there was, but he understood he was carrying the flag of St. Kitts and Nevis with him, and he wanted to end.
St. Kitts and Nevis won gold in the 800 meters under 17 girls, a bronze medal in the under 20 girls 4x400 meters, in the boys under 17 4x400 meters, a bronze, and in the under 20 girls 400 meter hurdles, bronze. Andre Huey, Skn Newsline. Five local contractors signed contracts with the government of St. Kitts and Nevis for the first phase of the project to resurface the island main road. At a signing ceremony on Friday evening at the airport roundabout, the contractors signed the agreements to perform specific work at specified areas where the road work will take place. The first phase will see work on the eastern and western ends of the island. The eastern end is from the airport roundabout to Keys Village, and the western end from Camps to Old Road. The Old Road Bay Road would be a separate project, according to Minister of Public Works Ian Liburd. He explained in an interview with the media after the presentation on how the project would be undertaken.
It's a $69 million project, and it's coming from revenue. So it's coming from the treasury, not borrowing any money for that. So we have to phase it over an 18-month period. So for this particular fiscal year, we intend to spend something like $27 million. This excludes the Old Road Bay, because the Old Road Bay is part of the island main road as well. In that particular area, we took out that segment of the road because of the issues we have in terms of the rockfall and the damage to the whole road. That in itself is a segment, another segment, or it's part of the overall infrastructural development. That whole road project is some $27 million. So overall, for the road improvement project, you can say it was about $96 million.
The minister conceded that giving work to several local contractors was more expensive than hiring one main contractor to do the entire project through subcontractors. But he said it was done this way to give local contractors the opportunity to benefit financially from this project.
So that to some most really makes us feel good, because our intention always is to put people first. And this is what the thing we insisted. Now it's an additional cost to ensure that we have all these local contractors. Because if you had one contractor, you may save some costs, right? But we did 5 contractors that gives them the exposure as well, you know, in road building, building sidewalks, building drainage and so on. So we insisted that we must have local input instead of these big companies that come in and do the entire roadworks in the past. We insisted that we must have local contractors and to help build capacity, build competence, and this is what I believe will derive from selecting them.
The contractors on this project are Ali Construction, who will be building sidewalks from Camps to the medical school at a value at $1,039,110.15. Booney's Construction, building sidewalks from West Farm to Challengers at $961,483.78. Anthony Huggins from Lime Kiln, who will be constructing a lane of HDPE drain near Ross University at a value of $1,409,165.65. B&B Limited, CAMS, will be constructing U-drain next to the tire shop adjacent OJ's gas station at a value at $1,046,916.65. And Mark O'Loughlin from Keon, constructing drainage at the eastern end of the island, Keys and Canada, at a value at $1,558,892. The Public Works Department said the contractors were chosen to work in the communities where they are from, and they were selected after they tendered public bids. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris highlighted the importance of a proper road network on the island in the country's socio-economic development.
We buying the money because the economy is working well and we manage the resource of our country very well. That is what we in our health sector, you will see our investment. I'm advancing the point made by the minister that all we have been doing is about people. All we have been doing is about people, improving the quality of life, not for some but for all. Bartley was right. When this road is done, and we have the best road network in the entire Caribbean, that benefits all of us.
Minister Liburd said after the 18-month period, the other phase will commence, which will involve the rest of the island main road covering the other communities. Roadworks are expected to begin as early as next week. Andre Huey, Skn Newsline. Opposition leader Dr. Denzil Douglas is suggesting that the government will attempt to sneak onto the order paper the Elections Amendment Bill agenda point for Thursday's National Assembly meeting. Speaking at a press conference on Wednesday at the Koi building, Dr. Douglas suggested that the meeting of Parliament to discuss the Freedom of Information Bill 2018 and the Data Protection Bill 2018 will see the contentious Election Amendment Bill added, especially as it relates to voting rights of overseas nationals.
We are aware that a piece of legislation will possibly end up on the order paper for tomorrow's meeting. I said probably because although at the moment we have not been notified, knowing how the Parliament functions under the present Speaker, who is being directed constantly by the Prime Minister, we may have a motion to amend the order paper tomorrow, and we will have possibly placed on the order paper the National Assembly Elections Amendment Bill of 2018, which had its first reading at the last sitting of our Parliament. But it was not debated and thus was not passed into law.
Dr. Douglas has contended that there should be widespread consultation and suggested that overseas voters contribute millions to the economy and their rights should be protected.
But why am I concerned about this? I'm concerned about this because rather than empowering our citizens who are living outside of St. Kitts in the diaspora, this piece of legislation is definitely going to disempower them, in the sense that it is removing one of their fundamental rights that this country has to offer to its citizens, and that is the right to vote after being qualified so to do. Because the essential piece, the essential clause in this piece of legislation speaks to removing the right to vote of our citizens who are living in the diaspora, who are presently voters registered to vote on the present voters register. But if now after this bill is passed, they are not resident in St. Kitts or Nevis for 6 months before registration is again called or an election is due, they will not be allowed to register or to vote for that matter.
The amendment to the Elections Act, among other things, proposes a residency requirement of 6 months for overseas nationals who are registered to vote in general elections. That issue has sparked a fierce debate in the public domain. Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris last week, during his monthly press conference, argued that allowing overseas nationals to vote without requiring them to reside in the country makes a mockery of the constituency system.
One man, one vote. Because then it makes a nonsense of the constituency process. If people can willy-nilly move, it's not a presidential system where you count all the votes and whoever wins, so it doesn't matter where you're at. It is constituency, and the constituencies are geographically determined. And therefore something must be wrong if you could have this flux, where a busload of people and more could suddenly get up one morning for the purpose of the election. All of us will have our name put in a particular district.
Chairperson of the Labour Party, Marcella Liebert, in an interview with Skn Newsline, said the system that the Team Unity administration is seeking to revert to existed prior to 1980, when the then PAM-NRP coalition made changes to the Elections Act to allow for overseas voting. She suggested that their desire now to revert to the old way is not in the interest of electoral reform, but political gimmickry. Dr. Douglas agrees. Andre Huey, Skn Newsline. Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris has been dismissive of allegations of bribery claims against him. Addressing a town hall meeting on Sunday at the Edgar T. Morris Primary School in his constituency, Dr. Harris responded to the bribery allegations and calls by the opposition for him to resign.
Now I come home and people are cha-la-la. I'm not getting myself in that. So those who have made themselves a puppy show on the radio, Timothy must say something. How I going to say and I'm not there with them? How I going to say when I don't know what is the truth from the lie for what people are saying?
Dr. Harris also spoke to allegations that seek to implicate him in discussing a bribe with business tycoon Peter Singh Verdi.
Watch and show and those vanities, them could impact upon my mind and my judgment on behalf of my people. Never. Craziness. That is craziness. And that is out of order. Out of order. Out of order.
Meanwhile, the Prime Minister had dismissed calls from the opposition leader, Dr. Denzil Douglas, for him to resign.
We came here to report that I am not resigning tonight, I'm not resigning tomorrow, I'm not resigning next week, I'm not resigning next year. So long as God give me the wellness and soundness of body and mind, we will go as we promised 10 years of service for Dr. Timothy Harris as the Federation's Prime Minister.
Calls have come from members of the public for Prime Minister Harris to provide full disclosure on the claims he discussed a bribe with Mr. Verdi. These claims are based on transcripts of a phone conversation published in a UK High Court judgment this month involving a tax fraud case against Mr. Verdi. In those conversations, Mr. Verdi, speaking to his business partner, suggested he discussed a bribe with the Antiguan Energy Minister and the Prime Minister of St. Kitts. The Antiguan Minister in question, Asset Michael, has since resigned. The opposition has since called for the Prime Minister to resign, but legal luminaries such as Charles Wilkin QC and Dr. Henry Brown QC have both suggested that the transcripts do not implicate the Prime Minister criminally. However, Mr. Wilkin and others have called for full disclosure from the Prime Minister. I'm Andre Huey for Skn Newsline. The opposition St. Kitts and Nevis Labour Party is calling for the resignation of Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris for an alleged corruption allegation case involving a UK tycoon Peter Singh Verdi, who has been accused of attempting to bribe Caribbean politicians.
Transcripts produced in a high court in London in connection with a bribery investigation against billionaire businessman Peter Verdi and his business partner appear to disclose reasonable grounds to believe that bribes and expensive gifts were given to Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. Timothy Harris.
The Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis has already refuted any suggestion that his government was involved in any form of corruption surrounding the case, and claimed the incident in question occurred before he became Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis. Another release from the government published on Times Caribbean Monday suggested that the government would be investigating the matter, alleging that the case involved opposition leader Dr. Denzil Douglas, who was Prime Minister in 2014. But Dr. Douglas, during a Labour Party press conference called on Monday, said the court transcripts indicated that the conversation took place in 2016.
Transcripts produced in the court were of at least 6 intercepted phone calls between Peter Verdi and his business partner, made between February of 2016 and November of 2016. These conversations began about exactly 12 months, a mere 12 months after Harris became Prime Minister of our country, St. Kitts and Nevis.
Dr. Douglas said he believes there is more to be uncovered in this matter.
What the world already knows, it is my belief that there is much more to uncover. What we know already about this matter has disqualified Dr. Timothy Harris from holding the position of Prime Minister, yet there is more to come. We have seen only the tip of the iceberg, we are told. Even more of the truth will be revealed as the criminal trial proceeds in London. Lord Justice Holroyd of the High Court in London, in his judgment on Friday, indicated that the National Crime Agency in the United Kingdom alleges that the intercepted conversations lawfully obtained by the police implicated Mr. Peter Verdi and his partner in conspiring, and I quote here, in conspiring to bribe corrupt officials, indicated that they had discussed bribes demanded by and paid to the Prime Minister of St. Kitts, and included a recording of a conversation between the claimant, that is, Mr. Verdi and his partner, and the Antiguan minister negotiating the amount of money due to the minister personally for introducing Mr. Verdi to officials of St. Lucia and, of course, of St. Kitts and Nevis. End of quote.
The conversation between Mr. Verdi and his business partner were taped and acquired by the German police as part of a tax fraud investigation of Mr. Verdi. The Prime Minister has said that he has sought legal counsel on the matter. Andre Huey, Skn Newsline. Opposition MP Marcella Leiber became the first female deputy leader of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party after she was elected to the post on the weekend. Labour Party rising star Dr. Terence Drew was elected party chairman. Party leader Dr. Denzel Douglas spoke about the changes to the party executive at the party conference on Sunday held at the St. Kitts Marriott Resort.
You would have noticed in your booklet for the conference that there were two persons to contend the deputy leadership of our great party. You would have heard that the Honorable Marcella Leiber has in fact emerged as our new deputy leader of our great party. The other person who was there in the booklet was the Honorable Conwys Maynard. I want to thank Conwys for being so magnanimous, who in the spirit of loyalty to this great party and visionary leader of the future was able to say, we don't want to leave this conference as a divided people. We want to leave as a united people.
Dr. Douglas also unveiled some of the new candidates that will contest the next general elections for the Labour Party. These include Dr. Jeffrey Hanley in constituency number 1 to replace outgoing deputy leader Dr. Asim Martin, Kenny Douglas to contest constituency number 5, and Leon Natta to contest constituency number 7. A candidate for constituency number 4 was still not yet announced. Dr. Douglas used the opportunity at the conference to champion the Labour Party's accomplishments and to mount a challenge to the team unity government of Prime Minister Timothy Harris. He was continuing in the same vein of his party's press conference earlier in the week, where he called for Dr. Harris to resign amidst bribery allegations.
Never before has the national interest been so ill-served. 3 years in, and look at what our country has come to. Team unity under the leadership of Harris is proving time and time again that they do not have what it takes to effectively and successfully administer the affairs of this great country.
Guest speaker at the party conference was Mike Brown, Minister of Education of Antigua and Barbuda and a Member of Parliament with the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party. Mr. Brown urged party supporters to tell the story of the accomplishments of the Labour Party in order to win the next general elections.
You have a story to tell. You have the story to tell of the history of comradeship within these shores. You have to tell how the Labour Party built this country. You have to tell how the Labour Party put institutions in place so that other persons not doing very much, masquerading, garbing themselves in nepotism, appointing everybody that the blood flows through their veins, as if kingship means competence. Bragging not on things that they would have built, but riding in a next man's car that a next man buy for his family. You know why? Because you did not tell your story.
The Labour Party conference was held under the theme Labour Stronger, Safer, Better for You. Andre Huey, Skn Newsline. Uptown Pizza and Cafe in Charlestown, Nevis offers the widest variety in sumptuous lunches found anywhere on the island. Come for a delicious pizza of any topping: pepperoni, veggie, margarita, chicken and pineapple, and more. Try the special dishes: wings at various flavors, sweet Thai chili, spicy barbecue, and more. Uptown Pizza and Cafe also offers the best in burgers: Fiesta Burger, Barbecue Cheddar Burger, and much more. Come to Uptown Pizza and Cafe, located at Cedar Trees, Charlestown, opposite the park. Call 663-0525 or 469-3052. Also visit them on Facebook. Search Uptown Pizza. Uptown Pizza and Cafe. Local cuisine, international flavor. For all your printing needs at top-notch quality, go to Digital Print Plus, located on Princess Street, Bastyr, St. Kitts. At Digital Print Plus, you get the best in business cards, letterheads, envelopes, wristbands, tent cards, rack cards, flyers, brochures, logo designs, posters, photos, architectural designs, 3D renderings, and so much more. Digital Print Plus gives you the best quality at competitive prices. Contact us at 767-7468 or email digitalprintskn@gmail.com or follow us on Facebook at digitalprintskn. Digital Print Plus, for all your printing needs at the best quality. Now you can have Skn Newsline on the go. Introducing Skn Newsline Android mobile app. Search Skn Newsline in the Google Play Store. Download the app free and stay up to date with TV news in St. Kitts and Nevis in the palm of your hands. With this app, you can watch your news reports, watch our live news feed on Skn Newsline TV, engage with us and other app users in the chat room, look at our special features, send us news tips, and call us directly. It's news on the go. The Skn Newsline Android mobile app. Download it free today. A bushfire in Ponds Extension on Thursday afternoon disrupted schools and commercial activities in the Bastyr area and its environs.
And as you can see, the fire is getting bigger. It's getting hotter even as we get closer to it. It's spreading quickly right across the shrubbery and the bush. The fire truck just left this area. I guess it's going to another area to try to see how best it could put out the fire, but it is getting worse as we speak.
Skn Newsline spoke to Mr. Everett Ogaro, Fire Chief at the St. Kitts Fire and Rescue Services.
Well, we responded to a fire early this afternoon in the Ponds area. The fire basically threatened a number of private properties and the Seventh Adventist school in the area. We responded with 4 tenders. The men are still there. We're still basically, what we're doing is basically monitoring the fire to make sure that it doesn't spread to any private property in the area. As to determining the cause of the fire, we are yet to do that. As the operation is still ongoing, and so at the end of the day, an investigation will ensue, and if we, combine information, we would pass that on. But we still have not determined what will have been the cause of the fire yet.
Can you say what the challenges were in trying to address this fire? I know there was a time when the fire and rescue services actually went to the heart of it and then had to go to another area as the fire was spreading.
Yeah, that's, you know, what you just explained is basically the problems we have with these fires, or the challenge that we have with these fires, in that it is burning in a huge area. However, most of it, where it is located, is not accessible to our fire trucks, and so basically we have to just monitor. The other challenges we have is the you know, the weather condition, the high winds, and so the wind would help to spread this fire much more rapidly. And so these are things that we definitely challenge with when we go and see, you know, fires like these. And so the fact that we cannot accept, you know, the critical areas or critical points of the fires with the high wind, that would allow it to spread to a number of areas. And so, you know, these are some of the challenges that we have when we respond to fires such as these.
No, at the Seventh Adventist school, I know the students, they were very close to the fire. There was also another daycare at the Christian Assembly Church that also was in close proximity to the fire. Could you just explain to us what transpired with their concern in terms of evacuation?
Oh, yeah, one of the things we would do, in fact, we have an ongoing program with schools as it pertains to fire safety and fire prevention. And so one of the things we would have done is to make sure we alert the schools, the authorities at the school, at an early stage of the fire, and advise them to at least evacuate the children, or put in place an evacuation operation for the children at an early stage. And so that is one of the things we would have done to make sure that the children would have been in a place of safety.
Meanwhile, the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, issued an urgent public notice relating to the fire. It said that the Fire and Rescue Services is currently dealing with a bushfire at Ponds Extension, Bastille. Motorists and other road users are asked to exercise extreme caution in the area of the Seventh-day Adventist Primary School. The school has closed in response to this hazard, and parents and guardians should ensure that their children are safely at home at this time. The National Emergency Management Agency urges everyone to avoid the area if possible, so that the fire personnel can take the necessary actions. Reporting for Skn Newsline on the fire in Bastille, I'm Andre Huey. Barbados-based political pollster and analyst Peter Wickham does not think the Peter Verdi scandal will have any negative political impact on Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris or the Team Unity government.
When I think of the Peter Verdi scandal, it speaks to one's perception of a leader's integrity, perhaps. I don't know that it has had an impact politically. If we look at Antigua and Barbuda, they just went through an election. The person at the center of it is former Minister Asset Michael. Asset Michael won close to 90% of the popular support in his constituency. So I'm inclined to think that if it's not going to have an impact in Antigua, where it's, what you could say is ground zero, my feeling in regard to the impact it will have here will be even less.
Speaking exclusively to Skn Newsline, Mr. Wickham said he does not think the Peter Verdi saga is high on the agenda of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Ultimately, people vote on the basis of what an individual can do for them, or at the level of the country, certainly can do for the country. And my sense is that I don't know that it is high on the list of priorities for Kittitians, because one hasn't exactly demonstrated how it is supposed to make life harder for persons who live in St. Kitts and Nevis. And certainly how it speaks to a question of whether the individual, the Prime Minister involved, whether that be Prime Minister Harris or Prime Minister Douglas, whether it should impact negatively on the integrity of either of those individuals. And I think this is where my challenge comes. So I am not inclined to see it as high on the list of priorities. I think there are other things which are more important to Kittitians and Nevisians at this point in time.
In a tax fraud case involving UK business tycoon Peter Singh Verdi, includes transcript of a phone conversation between Mr. Verdi and his business partner. In the transcripts of the conversations dating back to as far as 2014 up to 2016, Mr. Verdi mentions the Prime Ministers of St. Kitts and Nevis, Antigua, and the Energy Minister of Antigua, suggesting he was negotiating a bribe with them. Specific references were made of the Prime Minister of St. Kitts in exchange of the opportunity for Mr. Verdi to invest in the country. The Antiguan minister implicated, Mr. Asant Michael, has since resigned. Prime Minister Harris has maintained that there is no evidence to implicate he negotiated or took a bribe from Mr. Verdi, a view shared by some legal experts. Mr. Wickham agrees.
My question is whether there is evidence to suggest that Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris or alternatively Prime Minister Dr. Denzel Douglas was involved, because mention was made of a Prime Minister of St. Kitts. We've had two in recent times, and I'm anxious to know if there are specifics, and if there's specific information, certainly it should have brought out into the fore. But to have a speculative conversation about what someone else said is something that presents me with some challenges, and as I said, it's difficult, certainly in a court of law, to do that. In a court of public opinion, it's probably even harder to essentially name and shame or identify an individual where we're based on a third-party conversation.
The opposition has been very vocal on the matter and has demanded the resignation of the Prime Minister. Mr. Wickham believes their approach is expected if they wish to gain political mileage from this situation.
No, the opposition is well and properly advised to continue along any path that they feel will present political mileage, and you're very right. It appears to be political mileage. It appears to speak to the integrity of the leader of the opposition, the Prime Minister. And I think the leader of the opposition is within his rights to pursue it. Now, the extent to which leader of the opposition pursues this or any other issues, and the extent to which the leader of the opposition would probably prefer to pursue this issue as opposed to the issue of citizenship in a foreign country, it makes perfect sense to me. Having said that, however, it's not necessarily that everything that the opposition throws out, people are going to pick up and run with. But I think that an opposition has the right to exploit what they see as weaknesses. They see this as a weakness, and I think that they have every right to go forward in this regard. Whether or not they will capture public interest is another matter altogether.
Andre Huey, Skn Newsline. The Rams Village Superstars are the 2017-2018 SKNFA National Bank Premier League champions after winning Game 2 of the finals on Wednesday night at the Warner Park Football Stadium. Village defeated 2013 champions Saul Island Auto Supply's Connery FC 3-1 in dramatic fashion to win their 5th Premier League title, their first since 2011. Raheem Francis got the goal-scoring spree off for Village, scoring in the 4th minute of play and putting Connery under pressure. However, 5 minutes later, Errol O'Loughlin of Connery equalized in the 10th minute. In the second half, both teams challenged each other head-to-head, with Connery getting the better of the chances. However, it was a Tahir Hanley 82nd minute strike that gave Village the upper hand and putting Connery to the sword. 6 minutes later, Kimari Rogers finished off the former champions with an 88th minute strike, one-on-one with the goalkeeper. Village's Tahir Hanley was voted MVP of the finals. After the match, celebration erupted at the Warner Park as Village supporters huddled together in the grandstands and the bleachers to celebrate their team for clinching the title. The presentation of winners and runners-up medals and trophies took place immediately after the match. Coach Jeffrey Hazel also spoke to the media and expressed joy at winning the championship.
We're elated. We're happy that we would have, won the championship. That was something that we set out to do ever since we started back in 2017. Several objectives, and so we were able to accomplish them. So we're quite happy right now.
What do you think is the main ingredient for keeping the momentum? You topped the season by 8 clear points. You won every round basically, and you put yourself in a position to win the Final Four playoffs and to be in the finals. What would you think? What would you say is the reason for the success?
Well, it's the commitment, the dedication from the guys. They listened to us when we presented our session plans or our team talks, and they were able to go out there and just do what we asked them to do.
Coach Hazel said now the focus is looking ahead, even in the midst of the celebrations.
We have some decisions to make, so we're going to sit down with the executive and the sponsors to see the way forward in terms of getting into the Champions League and everything. So it's a good step for us. I think the future looks very bright for us.
So I take it then that Caribbean Shield will be next.
Well, yes, we're thinking seriously about it, so we just have to sit down now and make that decision.
Meanwhile, assistant coach of the Connery team, Delwyn Delaney, said losing Wednesday's match was tough, considering they created more chances to score.
In our estimation, had the better of the game. We created chances in and around goal, but just wasn't able to finish. At the end of the day, football doesn't hand out awards for good tries and tough lucks, and that sort of thing. Is who scores the goals wins the games.
So the Rams Village Superstars are crowned champions with an excellent record this season. They topped the table after winning 18 matches, losing only 4 and scoring 70 goals during the regular season. They had a perfect record in the playoffs, winning all 5 matches they played and conceding only 2 goals. This Premier League title completes the double this season as they successfully defended their Carnival Cup title in December. Congratulations to the Rams Village Superstars. On Monday, July 16, 2018, St. Kitts received its 1 millionth cruise ship passenger in one cruise season, making it a marquee port in the Caribbean. Mallory Khan and Jared Lehman, as a couple, were greeted by the St. Kitts Tourism Authority CEO, Raquel Brown, as they disembarked Royal Caribbean's Freedom of the Seas Monday morning at Port Zante as the destination's 1 millionth cruise passenger, the first in the history of St. Kitts cruise tourism.
Outside Philadelphia? Yeah. First time in St. Kitts?
It is, yeah.
Good
so
stuff.
This is time,
this is gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome.
They were greeted by Minister of Tourism Lindsey Grant and Federico Gonzalez, Associate Vice President, Government Relations, Latin America and the Caribbean for Royal Caribbean Cruises Limited. Both guests were whisked away to be treated to a day tour by the Tourism Authority designated tour guide while being presented with a gift basket. It was their first time visiting St. Kitts. Prior to welcoming the 1 millionth cruise passenger, Mr. Gonzalez of Royal Caribbean expressed his elation with the growth of St. Kitts cruise tourism over the last 10 years.
Yeah, well, I remember coming to Royal Caribbean 10 years ago, and the numbers were like very, very low, and the product was not that as sophisticated as now. So over the last 10 years, what the people and the government of St. Kitts, the public sector and the private sector has done with St. Kitts as a destination has been basically amazing. Now the ratings are probably one of the highest in the region, if not the highest. The guest satisfaction is at incredible levels. I think our guests love St. Kitts. The environment to do business in St. Kitts has been very open to the cruise lines. I think the government understands the cruise industry. So I only hope that this trend will continue over the next few years.
Government officials, including Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris and other cabinet members, business officials, representatives of Delisle Walwyn, agents of Royal Caribbean, and other dignitaries, including Governor General Sir Tapley Seaton, visited the Freedom of the Seas in celebration of this milestone. On board the vessel, Tourism Minister Lindsey Grant spoke about the partnership with Royal Caribbean in the achievement of 1 million cruise ship passengers in one tourism season.
So far this season, Royal Caribbean vessels, brands of Royal Caribbean, Celebrity, and Azamara Alliance have made a total of 102 port calls so far for this year. They have brought for this year over 350,000 passengers to our island. Our calls have grown. Last year, at this stage, we were at 358 calls. Today, we are at 486 calls as of today.
Minister Grant spoke about plans to partner with Royal Caribbean to train locals so that they can work on the cruise ships and to be able to offer local-based services to the cruise lines.
I said to you that 2 things we in St. Kitts and Nevis would wish you to deliver for us. 1, a training facility to ensure that our people are trained to the highest heights to be able to work on these ships. We have a challenge going to St. Lucia and the application process, and so we want that done here. We think our people are ready. We have the marquee port status, and the people of St. Kitts and Nevis will welcome that. The second thing I asked of you is that we have to find a way to make St. Kitts and Nevis be able to provision your ships in some small way. So we're going to find a way so we make sure that we build and grow entrepreneurs here to produce for your ship at the highest level.
Mr. Gonzalez said Royal Caribbean was open to the requests from Minister Grant.
Royal Caribbean, we have the Caribbean name on our brand. It's part of who we are, and we want to hire more crew members from the Caribbean. Wow. That's a commitment. That's something that is coming from the senior management. Our guests are asking for more Caribbean crew members because of their Caribbean personality, the fun, you know, the whole attitude. So we have embarked in that initiative to start recruiting more people from the Caribbean. So yes, and I think St. Kitts will definitely offer a great place to hire a crew member. So I'm committed to follow up on that. And on the purchasing, as a matter of fact, I was talking to Captain Busto. I think there is definitely an opportunity. It's not easy, I have to say, because of the way the logistics of the way we run our business here on board our ships. But definitely there is an opportunity for certain products.
Both the Tourism Authority and Delil Waldwin exchanged plaques with Royal Caribbean Cruise Line as part of the presentation on board the vessel. Guests were treated to a short tour of the ship and entertainment in the ship's state-of-the-art theater. Andre Huey, Skn Newsline. A young man and his father are accusing a St. Kitts Nevis Defence Force soldier of brutality and abuse of power. Davian Jarvis told Skn Newsline that he has been harassed by a Defence Force soldier for 3 years.
He pulled up when I reached the end of the road, he pulled up at the end with 4 young army men here. When they stopped me, said they want to source me, they sourced me then for an argument, but then they shoved me, pushed me in the car. I was taken all the way over from Fort Thomas School to Atlas, where he got the poorhouse down the grade. Beaten in front of, he had 4 of them in the car, and he had when we were going down there, he had an army truck down there, full of soldiers. But on the way over there, the man them in the car telling me all kind of thing about the field, like take a gunshot in my head and show me how I washed up and nobody gonna find me and all kind of thing.
The issue came to a head when another incident occurred in 2017, where he was confronted by a group of Defence Force soldiers and was shot after he got involved in an altercation with them.
The senior officer tell the young one, you carry a sword and he asked the young one to show me living up on a wall and my virgin mother was social. Well, they did the coup, I come on West One, but all them there standing up watching me get sold. But trying to call him out there to know. I know, after they didn't sold me, the senior officer took my name, he told me to go. And when I go in now, just see the next one now. I chose to walk the other direction from the man. The man and the next army soldier thinking just to run after me. And I did, well, they went in after me and they reached close me, I just watch him in the face and tell him don't touch you. Well, he tell himself, well, to give you the army pool and he got big M16. He tell himself in his hand, he tell himself, well, he got the upper hand and he didn't grab me, pull me vest. And we start to fight. Well, we did a fighting now, wrangling, he end up on the ground, he gun jab. Well, we did know the next one can't be gun, try to fire it at him, but the time he get to point it after me, I get to hit the gun and the ground and like punch him. So the gun hit, the gunshot hit the ground. The ricochet bust where the arm and the next one was on the ground hand. Bust to me, I enter and bust to me back axe and lodge in my right hand.
After this incident a few weeks later, Jarvis said he was accosted by soldiers in McKnight, led by the same soldier who has been harassing him for months, as seen in this phone footage captured by eyewitnesses.
They shoot the man the other day and they come back, come with the man. Every time they pass on here, they play with the man.
And 2 weeks after we was brutalized again, to tell them what lie, then I was put in the pickup, taken to the police station. They say I was under arrest for battery, but yet I was charged with a threatening language.
So they're saying that you threatened them?
Yes.
According to Jarvis, despite attempts to report the matter to then Defence Force Commander Colonel Patrick Wallace and the Commissioner of Police, nothing has been done to address his concern.
Yeah, while he's telling me watching my face, there's nothing he can do about it, and then where I could have lost my life twice. And this is something, and now, come on, when you got people on the street of being one gangsters and put them in the army camp and got them doing people, children, shipping, this is something serious.
Jarvis's father also raised concern about how his son was treated and what he deems the lack of support from the High Command.
Escalating, and right now it's to the edge of the brink where I'm not going to make any more report. Even our country, They went to trouble with his next brother that under him too as well. Targeted him so 3 times. Targeting the family now. Good, well, I'm not going to make any more report to anyone.
Earlier this year at a police press conference, Skn Newsline asked the current commander of Defense Force, Major J. Anthony Comrie, about cases such as this and how the Defense Force normally handles such complaints.
The Defense Force is a disciplinary body, and we take discipline very seriously. As we say locally, every soldier must be disciplined. And they have measures in place in-house to deal with any disciplinary matter. We have summary hearing, and we also have a court-martial hearing. So there are measures in place to deal with any disciplinary matters, and the Defense Force do deal with disciplinary matters.
So if someone in the public is alleging that or is aggrieved, can they approach, how do they go about approaching or filing a complaint regarding a member of the Defense Force?
Well, if any member of the public have any issue with any soldier, they can listen to the commander. The commander is always open.
Skn Newsline understands that the case involving Jarvis is now before the court. Andre Huey, Skn Newsline. The son of Government Minister Ian Patches Liburd, Mikhail Liburd, was shot and killed in Pine Gardens on Monday, August 27th. Police are investigating the fatal shooting incident, which occurred at about 10:15 p.m. 32-year-old Mikhail Liburd was visiting someone at Pine Gardens. Preliminary investigations have revealed that on arrival, as he was getting out of the vehicle, 3 armed men came up out of nearby bushes and opened fire on him. He was shot multiple times about the body. Enquiries have also revealed that he ran a short distance, then fell. Technicians from the crime scene unit visited and processed the scene and took items of evidential value into police custody. Investigations into the matter are ongoing. Persons with information regarding this incident are urged to contact the Violent Crime Unit by dialing 467-1887 or 467-1888, 662-3468. Investigations into the matter are ongoing. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris has extended condolences to his cabinet colleague on the passing of his son. The Prime Minister said in a statement, quote, "My Team Unity government and I lift up our beloved colleague and his whole family in prayer and ask God to heal the unimaginable heartbreak of having to bury a child. Minister Liburd can count on us to give him the emotional support needed during this incredibly painful time," end quote. The Prime Minister encouraged the people of St. Kitts and Nevis to provide any information that may deem relevant to the investigation of the fatal shooting. Andre Huey, Skn Newsline.
Honorable Sean K. Richards, Minister of Youth and Culture, said that last year for CSEC, the scores were lower but increased this year. He was speaking at a press conference on Tuesday to announce the results.
For CSEC, for the schools last year, we saw 79.41. This year, we're registering 82.19. Overall, last year, it was 75.71. This year overall, when you include the private candidates, it's 78.16. Most of the schools actually had an increase in the percentage pass rate for 2018.
Mr. Richards also stated that the CAPE scores this year has increased slightly.
What I can say to you is that for CAPE, last year, the national pass rate was 87.15%. This year, we have seen a slight increase in that the national pass rate is 88.08%. Let me qualify that, though. The 88.08% is reflective of schools. So that would be CFBC and Nevis Sixth Form College in particular. Now for private centers, you had a 77.94 pass rate for CAPE. So overall, there is an 87.34% pass rate overall for CAPE. Of course, the Ministry of Education cannot control what happens relative to private candidates.
He also said that the Virtuals High School stands out because their scores increased.
The Virtuals, I think, stands out because you would recall last year the principal of Virtuals was part of the press conference when Virtuals had the lowest pass rate of 68.17% in the Federation. This year, Virtuals is noted for being the best performing school in St. Kitts with a pass rate of 87.05%, being only second to the Gingerland Secondary School, which had a pass rate of 95.80%.
The minister also disclosed to the press the number of passes of subjects per schools.
Bastia High School returned 631 acceptable grades out of 754. Keyon High School returned 451 out of 553. Charles Emails Secondary School returned 351 out of 430. Charlestown Secondary School returned 564 out of 715. Gingerland Secondary School returned 251 out of 262. Immaculate Conception Catholic School returned 182 out of 231. Nevis International Secondary School returned 30 out of 37. Sadler's Secondary School returned 235 out of 284. Virtuals High School returned 457 out of 525. Washington Archibald High School returned 794 out of 1,010. St. Kitts private candidates returned 328 out of 620. New Horizon Rehabilitation Center returned 10 out of 10. Nevis Private returned 125 out of 204. Her Majesty's Prison returned 11 out of 19.
I am Chiari Morton, Skn Newsline.
The police have confirmed that the firearm of Sergeant Leon Powell was the same one used by Vincent Taylor to shoot and injure a police officer on Friday. Police confirmed that it killed wanted man Vincent Taylor in an operation in Sandy Point on Friday. At a press briefing held at the police training school on Saturday, September 1st, Commissioner of Police Ian Queally disclosed that the weapon was recovered at the scene where a search operation for Vincent Taylor was carried out on August 31st.
According to our records, the pistol used by Vincent Taylor to shoot and injure our officer was the department firearm issued to our fallen colleague, Sergeant Powell. It was also reported that he was relieved of his firearm by his attackers during the time of his death. As I speak to you at this point in time, the ballistic works carried out on the bullets and other shell casing found on the scenes has just been completed. The results indicate that it was his weapon that he was relieved at the time that was used to kill him.
Taylor was wanted by police for armed robbery and as a result of investigations had become the prime suspect in the shooting death of Sergeant Powell.
On the particular premises of the incident, where he was located, permission was sought from the owner to enter the premises, and once granted, the security forces proceeded. While searching the premises, Taylor was spotted, and without hesitation, he proceeded to open fire on the officers. They returned fire. One officer was shot and injured. He is currently warded at the JNF General Hospital in stable condition with a good prognosis. Vincent Taylor
was shot multiple times about his body and died at the scene.
The Commissioner commended the team of police officers who were part of the operation, especially the injured officer, for his bravery.
I reflect on the police officer who is currently preparing to undergo surgery. He's been treated for a gunshot injury to his shoulder, and thank God he is listed as being in stable condition. He knew the dangers involved in the operation and the dangerous nature of the fugitive. As a result, he and the others went where many were not willing to go and did what many were not willing to do. Members of this special team are true heroes, brave, selfless, fearless, and protectors of peace and justice. I want to offer the highest commendation to these officers and soldiers who were involved in the operation on Friday. You have made your country proud. We are indebted to you in a way that we can only attempt to show with material things, because your contribution to national security and law and order are invaluable.
Meanwhile, Commissioner Queeley said that there have been a lot of speculation relating to this incident, but noted that the outcome has given the police renewed hope in its fight against crime. He thanked members of the public for their cooperation and information leading to the death of Taylor, but said there may have been some people who harbored Taylor and helped him evade police. These persons, he said, would be found and brought to justice.
There were also others who were helping him to evade the police. The community he was found in is a close-knit, well-populated community. We know that there are persons who would have seen him and said nothing, and that there are those who were harboring him, feeding him, providing shelter, assisting him with travel, etc. Allow me to remind everyone that harboring a fugitive is a criminal offense. And we are looking into who we can lay such charges against.
The Commissioner said that at the time of Taylor's death, he was carrying a backpack that contained a mask, a pair of gloves, tie straps, and a knife. Andre Huey, Skn Newsline. The statues of 5 national heroes of St. Kitts and Nevis were unveiled at the National Heroes Park on Monday, September 17th. The day was a public holiday in lieu of National Heroes Day falling on a Sunday. As the statues were unveiled, a representative, in most cases a family member of each national hero, read a citation of their accomplishments, while another family representative helped to unveil the monument while laying wreath at the base of the statue. The Federation's only living national hero, Sir Kennedy Simmons, was on hand for the unveiling of his own monument, along with his wife, Lady Mary Simmons, and son, Kenrick. Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris acknowledged the accomplishments of the 5 national heroes of the country in his address.
Their motivation was not a quest for personal glory or fame, but the defense of basic values and principles which they hold dear. And through demonstration of a sense of duty and selfless sacrifice, they go on eventually to win decisive battles that make a real difference in the lives of our people.
The Prime Minister said the location of the National Heroes Park, located just outside Connery, is strategic.
We chose this location, or the committee did, for its strategic positioning as a highly visible welcome point and gateway to the rest of the island. It is fitting that we should properly honor those who have made such a significant contribution to the development of our beloved Federation. It is even more important that we should do this not only once a year as we do today, but that they stand all year round to remind us of those who have led the way for our greatness as a country and people.
Meanwhile, the Prime Minister disclosed that the government is seeking to convert the former residence of the Federation's first national hero into a heritage site.
In addition to the unveiling of the life-size bronze statues of our heroes today, there are 2 other initiatives relating to our national heroes which are worthy of note. Firstly, the government is seeking to convert the former residence of our first premier, Sir Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw into a museum where residents and visitors can go to learn about his life and times. I am happy to say that no better person could have been found to provide leadership and support to this than our esteemed Governor General, Sir S.W. Tapley Seaton. And he advised me 2 weeks ago that this project is advancing apace.
The Prime Minister also disclosed that Buckley's plantation is also being developed into a heritage site.
The abandoned Buckley's plantation is being redeveloped for preservation as a national heritage site of national significance. Cabinet has approved a committee, and I'm pleased to report that Senator Keela Byron Nisbet chairs the committee spearheading this national effort. We are looking forward to hear from them and their work.
The Heroes' Day ceremony was attended by an armed force from Taiwan, members of the Diplomatic Corps, and other dignitaries. Andre Huey, Skn Newsline. Skn Newsline is bringing you a new football web series. It's SKN Football Weekly, an in-studio weekly web series on the National Bank Premier League, showing highlights, analysis, and preview of the upcoming Premier League matches. It's a great way to start your weekend ahead of the Premier League matches at the Warner Park Football Stadium. SKN Football Weekly, every Saturday at 11 a.m. live on www.sknnewsline.com, the Skn Newsline Facebook page, and the Facebook page of the St. Kitts Nevis Football Association. SKN Football Weekly, Saturdays at 11 a.m., a production of Skn Newsline, your world, your sport. The National Bank Premier League in St. Kitts is back, and Voice of the Caribbean Radio is bringing live coverage with the SKNFA Match of the Week. Every Saturday evening at 8 p.m., Voice of the Caribbean Radio will be broadcasting the Premier League Match of the Week at www.voiceofthecaribbean.net or sknfa.com.
Shot taken, and in the back of the net!
We'll bring you the action through live commentary and analysis with pre-game, halftime, and post-game shows, live and direct from the Warner Park Football Stadium. That's the SKNFA Match of the Week on Voice of the Caribbean Radio in partnership with the St. Kitts Nevis Football Association, bringing live radio coverage every Saturday at 8 p.m. from now till the end of the season, only on voiceofthecaribbean.net or sknfa.com. Live football action from St. Kitts every Saturday on Voice of the Caribbean Radio, your Caribbean sports leader.
I am floored. That is a scorcher of a goal. That's the best.
If elections were called now, the Team Unity government would retain power. That's according to the latest poll from the Barbados-based Caribbean Research Development Services, CADRES. A press release from CADRES said poll results showed Team Unity having 45% of respondents saying it would likely win majority of the seats in the next general election, and 27% for Labour NRP. 23% of poll respondents would not say or were unsure, and 5% selected another party. Pollster and political analyst Peter Wickham of CADRES spoke to Skn Newsline Monday after he issued a press release on the latest poll results.
Which we computed shows that there's been a swing of 7 percentage points in favor of Team Unity and a swing of 8 percentage points away from Labour, which means two things, good and bad for both parties. One is that Team Unity has not yet maximized on the full losses of the Labour Party. And then on the other side, we can say that Team Unity has done reasonably well in terms of being able to capture some of the momentum. And you would appreciate, Andre, that Team Unity was behind in terms of the popular vote at the election. So the fact that it has now matched the popular vote and has improved by what we project to be 7 percentage points means that Team Unity has been given a passing grade, so to speak.
Asked who would win an election if called now, Mr. Wickham suggested that based on the current data, not only would Team Unity retain power, but gain an additional seat or two.
Team Unity can probably capture an additional seat or two on the mainland, and they could reduce the Labour Party to one. As far as the Nevis situation is concerned, I do think that the third seat in Nevis is under substantial threat. The third NRP seat, the sole NRP seat, is under substantial threat based on this current scenario. So that is what you're looking at. Naturally, Dr. Douglas holds the strongest seat. The second strongest will be Ms. Marcella Lightbird. And that's how the scenario is looking. But I don't see a situation in which there will be any recapture in the current scenario. Naturally, as the time passes and we get closer to elections, there will be a possibility that we'll have other polls that may be published, and I look forward to charting the progress of the government.
Meanwhile, the poll results had Team Unity leader Dr. Timothy Harris as a more popular leader than the opposition leader Dr. Denzel Douglas, at 37% to 31%, and a leadership approval rating of 56% for Dr. Harris to 40% for Dr. Douglas. Skn Newsline asked Mr. Wickham why he thinks this is so.
If you look at leadership across the region now, you have a cadre of young leaders. You have Gaston Brown in Antigua. You have Prime Minister Chastine in St. Lucia. You don't have Prime Minister Motley in Barbados. You have Prime Minister Holness in Jamaica. I have been arguing for a while that it appears to me as though leadership in the Caribbean is now a youthful enterprise. And you have this cadre of young leaders that seem to be responding well to people using social media, and generally speaking. And I think that St. Kitts is no different. It will be difficult for Dr. Douglas to recapture the momentum that he had, because ultimately the charisma that he traded on in the 1980s is ultimately what he is still trading on. While the goalposts have moved, people's ideas have moved, and I think that several things have moved in a different direction. Dr. Douglas's posture, his language is as muscular as it was in the 1980s, the way that he appeals to people. But what he has to understand is that the politics of St. Kitts and Nevis has changed. And it will be difficult for him to recapture new people using the old methods. Now, clearly his methods are appealing to the base. I mean, that's fine. But the base cannot win you an election. And this is a point that I've been making in relation to the St. Kitts and Nevis scenario for a while, that you are not, the Labour Party cannot continue to do things the way it always did. They need to have a new approach.
According to the press release from cadres, some 1,000 persons were surveyed across the Federation using face-to-face interviews by a team of interviewers who were instructed to select respondents in all 11 constituencies based on specific age and gender criteria, without respect to the type of house, race, or any other factor. In addition to the standard political questions, respondents were asked an open-ended question on the issue of greatest concern to them. According to the release, 30% of the respondents believed St. Kitts and Nevis is heading in the right direction. 17% said it is heading in the wrong direction. 44% said they were not sure or won't say. Regarding the issue of the preferred leader, 37% said Dr. Harris, 31% had Dr. Douglas, 15% Sean Richards, 12% Mark Brantley, 3% said Marcella Lightbird, 2% Conrad Maynard, and 0.2% Lindsey Grant. I'm Andre Huey reporting for Skn Newsline.
Leader of the Nevis Reformation Party, your initial sentiments after the results were announced?
Great feeling, something that I wanted, and it was bestowed upon me by the good people of this beloved party.
When in your maiden address, you address a number of things, and one thing you call for, and we hear a lot during the party convention, is encouraging the party supporters to work together, that the enemy is not in this room, the common enemy is the other party. After the aftermath of the elections, were there fragmentations in the party?
Not fragmentations within the party per se. When you would have lost an election, believe you me, that in itself can cause changes within the party. People would voice their concern, and what we actually saw were our supporters voicing their concern. And from those concerns, we were able to garner the position that a number of things within the party needs to change. As I said in my speech, we had to do a reflection to make sure we understand why a tried, tested and proven party was rejected and what I call, in my slow term, imposters were taken on. And so the exercise of losing would have taught us a lot. And today we are here to continue and to strengthen the party based on those suggestions and comments that came from our supporters.
The party, obviously, you're in a renovation move, for lack of a better word. And we've heard the term used by the guest speaker, Mr. Maynard, Mr. Congress Maynard, that we need to rebrand, but to remain core to your true values. Talk to us about the rebranding efforts of the party. We know there are some new faces that would be in the party as well.
Well, we would have had a constitution that we would have not had much amendments to since the inception of the party. Today we were able to ratify a constitution, the amendment. I think our constitution now is on par with any other constitution of political parties within the region. We recognize also that there needed to be some changes or some suggestion and amendment in terms of our structure, and that we have done. Having done that, we have created a strategic plan, the outgoing executive, and that in itself gave us the label or the sort of vision that we would want to see for the party. So all in all, the exercise, rebranding, as you might have heard Congress say, I prefer to look at it as transitioning. Because in any political party, when there is a new leader, there's a transition in that would take place. You would have heard that I gave the accolades to the Honorable Joseph Barrett, our outgoing party leader, who has kept us together for in excess of 20 years. That is not easy feat. And so it is my intention to stand on the successes, to learn from the failure of the past, and to make sure that I usher this party into a new region with a new level of politics.
Finally, what is the main priority now for the Native Reformation Party? You talked about going to different constituencies. What's the main objective now for you?
It is, I would want to say, to make sure that we are successful in the upcoming federal election. That is the start, in my mind, of the journey.
You did say it wasn't very important. Was
very important. Divisions are known, and we have discovered that within our party base, there are persons who don't feel that a federal election is important. And part of our transitioning would mean to break that and to make sure that every voter on the island of Nevis understands that the federal election is an important election.
Any questions?
Yeah, you spoke about the exercise of losing.
Yes.
For you, the exercise of losing. For you, your experience, what does winning this, well, should I say winning, capturing this leadership position mean for you? For you personally?
For me personally,
yeah.
it's great joy. It is a responsibility, and for me to capture this position, I had to go back to basics. The same way I campaigned in 2006, that's the same king of campaign. I went back, and I believe I understand what is required even more to make sure that you're successful at the home. I got the overwhelming support of the party, and that I am grateful for. So it was a learning experience for me, really. Campaigning now to the entire party and becoming victorious. I want to say that Dr. Daly, formidable opponent, he's the first vice president, and equally our friendship continues, and we would take this party forward. In preparing myself, I would tell you I would have looked at some of the struggles of some of the political parties in the region, and I didn't realize that having an election, the internal politics could be so troubling. But I believe we did well. We haven't had any casualties. We are all friends, and I believe this is the moment for us now to unite the party and move forward on to greater things.
As you mentioned that, though, we did hear some murmurings during the conducting of the vote of the counts. Some persons didn't understand, certain processes. Was there anything that you think would rub people the wrong way?
What happened? We wanted to get the election in so that we could have had greater participation and perhaps of the newly elected leader within the convention. But like election, you know, sometimes we've been up for a whole night, for hours. So the 1 hour time slot that we had allocated was not enough before we go live in terms of our convention. And so we would just have to sharpen the process, but it didn't affect the result in any way. I want to thank the supervisor of election, and I'm telling you again, this was the first time in the history of the party that we would have gone through the democratic process, and that was one of the changes that I think we made in terms of this new party, making sure that in an open and transparent way people choose their leader. I would dare say to you, I am not sure that any other party in this federation would want to take on that challenge. The bold step has been made by the Legal Reformation Party. We are always trendsetters, and so it is there for them to understand. Internal politics has its issues. We are now moving beyond that and seeking to be united.
The impending closure of Lutron Layamiga, a manufacturing company that has been operating in St. Kitts and Nevis for some 30 years, has triggered differing responses from both government and the opposition. The government, while lamenting the development, is assuring the public that the workers would be adequately compensated. The opposition, on the other hand, is slamming the government for bringing hardship on the workers who will be without a job. According to Minister of Labour Vance Amory in a national broadcast on Thursday, employees of Lutron Layamiga Limited are expected to be well compensated when the facility closes its plant in St. Kitts, effective March 1st, 2019.
The compensation package from Lutron will see more than half of the workers, some 50 employees, receiving the equivalent of 104 weeks' pay. That is inclusive of severance as well. It will see also 4 persons receiving compensation equivalent of 94 weeks' pay. 1 person will receive the equivalent of 91 weeks' pay. Another 4 workers will receive 87 weeks' pay. 4 will receive 79 weeks' pay. 4 will receive 75 weeks' pay. 2 workers will receive 71 weeks' pay. And 3 will receive the equivalent of 56 weeks' pay. The difference in the payment, or the amounts which will be received, is as a result of the years of service which each category of workers has given.
Officials from the Department of Labour met with the plant management executives as well as the workers of Lutron on Thursday, November 1st, to discuss pertinent matters relating to the closure, the minister said.
The Department of Labour responded promptly and convened a meeting on Thursday, 1st November, with the plant management and the executives who were visiting for this purpose, and the workers of Lutron. The meeting sought to ensure full compliance with the appropriate labor legislation and also addressed employees' concerns associated with the closing of the facility and provided answers to their questions in relation to the closure. The issues raised at the meeting were adequately addressed by the Labour Commissioner, who was ably supported by a team of senior management officials of the Department of Labour. During the meeting, the workers of Lutron expressed satisfaction with their proposed payout package from Lutron and spoke mainly of their intended severance claims to be paid from the government.
However, leader of the opposition, Dr. Denzel Douglas, has accused the Timothy Harris-led Team Unity government of bringing hardship on nearly 100 employees and their families. He said, quote, "These are single mothers, most of whom are heads of households who will be out of work. This is such a horrible, horrible blow to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, and especially to those mothers and young children in daycares, preschool, primary school, secondary or high school, and college," end quote. Dr. Douglas pointed out that they will also have other obligations, including mortgages on homes, cars, and other personal matters. He said, quote, "Some of them may already have children who are unemployed and are dependents, and elderly parents and grandparents who depend on them for their livelihood," end quote. He He said the loss of employment will have psychological effects and also deal a serious blow to the advancement of the individual. He said Prime Minister Harris, Trade Minister Lindsey Grant, and Labour Minister Vance Amory knew a long time ago that the factory would close and that they sat and, quote, did absolutely nothing to help save those jobs, end quote. But Minister Amory noted that the closure of Lutron was due to changes in market conditions and demands for Lutron's products.
The 31st October 2018 correspondence also revealed that Lutron engaged its workers in full disclosure of the challenges and its proposed investment to revamp and reorganize the production. But workers opted to have the investment used on them instead of the company investing in continued manufacturing improvements. The Lutron letter further advised that, and I quote, "After a careful and thorough review of this request up through the highest levels of our company, we are in agreement with them that it is time to retire the facility," end of quote.
Lutron has been operating in the Federation for some 31 plus years. Andre Huey, Skn Newsline. A High Court judge in St. Kitts and Nevis Monday, November 19th, stayed criminal proceedings brought by the government against former Supervisor of Elections, Mr. Wingrove George, and ordered the immediate return of his passport. Skn Newsline spoke to Mr. George's attorney, Sylvester Anthony, on Tuesday on this report.
We applied to the court for leave to seek judicial review of the decision of the magistrate in issuing the warrant, and the Director of Public Prosecutions for prosecuting the matters against Mr. George. The court has set the hearing of our application for leave for the 30th. In the meantime, the court granted our request that the matter be stayed, the criminal proceedings be stayed, pending the decision on the judicial review application.
Mr. Anthony suggested that the bail condition for Mr. George was too onerous and was pleased the judge ruled favorably on this matter.
The court also agreed to our request to suspend the terms of the bail, the terms and conditions of the bail which was given to Mr. George, which conditions we thought were quite onerous, and obviously the judge agreed were very onerous. Mr. George's passport had been, the passport was taken away from him, and his fiancée and his child are in Canada, and he's not been able to visit them for a year when he used to go visit them at least 3 times a year. He also had to report weekly to the Frigate Bay police station. So those terms and conditions have now been suspended, and we await for the hearing on the 30th. The court has indicated that if he agrees to grant us leave to seek judicial review, he will hear the matter as well on the 30th. So we will expect on the 30th or soon thereafter, we will know what the status of our application for leave is.
Mr. George, who was already on suspension, was arrested on December 15th, 2017 and charged with misconduct in public office in relation to alleged irregularities with the February 2015 federal elections. On election night, Mr. George stopped the announcement of election results, which left the country clueless as to who won the election. The action earned rebuke by regional leaders, including the Prime Ministers of Trinidad and Tobago, Grenada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and the Bahamas, who all called for the immediate announcement of the election results. Mr. George eventually announced the results on the evening of February 17th, a day after Election Day. The opposition St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party has long maintained that the charges brought against Mr. George were strictly vindictive politics. The government has brought in Dane Hamilton QC of Antigua for this case. I'm Andre Huey reporting for Skn Newsline. Sun Country Airlines made its inaugural flight to St. Kitts and Nevis at the RLB International Airport on Saturday afternoon close to 3:30 p.m. The flight to St. Kitts was part of a historic occasion as well, as it formed part of the largest passenger arrival at the RLB International Airport. Passengers of Sun Country were greeted by Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris, Premier Mark Brantley, Minister of Public Infrastructure and SCASPA, Ian Liebert, and top-ranking tourism ministry officials and stakeholders. The masquerade was also on hand to perform for the visitors as they disembarked from the aircraft. At a short ceremony at the CAD Private Jet Lounge at the RLB International Airport, Prime Minister Harris and a representative of Sun Country Airlines shared brief remarks on marking this historic occasion.
We are delighted to have Sun Country Flight SY777 arriving here at the R.L. Bradshaw International Airport. We want to offer our thanks to the captain for making this inaugural visit a safe one. All of the passengers with whom we have interacted as they descended the steps indicated that they had a lovely experience. So let's give the captain and the crew a round of applause and bid them a hearty welcome to our country. Today is a very special one, and we are very pleased that as history is being made at our international airport, Sun Country is part of that history. I am advised that today we have received the largest number of passengers in the history of our airport, and we thank you for bringing and contributing to that historic occasion. Again, we give you a special thanks.
We appreciate you all joining us. We had a great flight down. The view was incredible as we came in. Our passengers were very happy, and we look forward to having many more flights down here. Thank you.
Minister of Tourism Lindsey Grant pointed to the significance of the arrival of Sun Country Airlines, which originates from Minnesota, the only one of its kind to St. Kitts and Nevis.
Sun Country's peak season service from Minneapolis, Minnesota is the first ever non-stop service from the upper Midwest, and so we are thankful for that. Visitors from this very important and growing region of the United States will now find it much easier and more convenient to reach our shores. Special recognition and thanks go out to the Honorable Mark Brantley, Premier of Nevis and Minister of Finance in Nevis, and the CEO, Greg Phillip, and the team from the Nevis Island Administration for leading the initiative to secure this flight. My St. Kitts and Nevis Tourism Authority for their technical assistance provided to Greg and his team at the Nevis Island Administration and the Nevis Tourism Authority.
Premier Brantley, who is the Nevis Minister of Tourism, disclosed that the idea to pursue Sun Country to fly to St. Kitts was the brainchild of Greg Phillip, CEO of the Nevis Tourism Authority.
It is a wonderful day because this flight took a lot of effort to make it happen. And many worked tirelessly. Many who you will not see here today giving speeches worked tirelessly to make this a possibility. I recall when Greg Phillip came with the idea of Sun Country, I had not heard of Sun Country before. And he forced me to do some research. And I recall inviting my brother Lindsey Grant, who just spoke, to Nevis. And I don't know, maybe it was the wine at Four Seasons, but he immediately said yes.
Sun Country Airlines is a United States-based low-cost airline headquartered in Eagan, Minnesota, and based at the nearby Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport. The airline operates 70 routes, mostly between destinations in the United States, Mexico, Costa Rica, and the Caribbean. I'm Andre Huey for Skn Newsline.
Numerous incidents occurred on the morning of Juvert 2018, resulting in 64 persons taken into custody. According to a police statement released on Wednesday, the incidents were gang-related. At about 8:30 a.m. on Wednesday, bottles and stones were being thrown by gang members in the midst of the revelers and band where revelers were fetting. Meanwhile, there were two other incidents involving police officers who were injured while attempting to make arrests. One of the incidents left two persons injured when a police officer fell and firearm was discharged. Two females suffered injuries to the legs as a result. Thousands of revelers gathered the streets of Bastia to fete as part of the annual Juvert celebrations. Juvert morning kicked off about 4 a.m. on Wednesday, December 26, 2018. Unfortunately, due to the several incidents that occurred, a decision was made in the interest of public safety to restrict the event to 10 a.m. I am Chiari Morton reporting for Skn Newsline. The St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party signed a Code of Ethical Conduct on Wednesday, December 5th during a signing ceremony at the office location at Port Zante. This Code of Ethical Conduct will compel its members to conduct themselves ethically and to govern members of the national executive of the party. Party leader Dr. Denzil Douglas said at the signing ceremony that this is an acknowledgement that as the eldest and strongest party of St. Kitts and Nevis, this code helps them to lead by example.
This occasion, therefore, is symbolic in three ways. Firstly, it is an acknowledgement that as the eldest and the strongest political party in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, it is important for us to lead by example. When we speak of principles such as integrity, objectivity, selflessness, accountability, honesty, openness, honor, and respect.
Party Chairman Dr. Terence Drew said that the signing of the Ethical Code of Conduct is to commit to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis the highest standards of conduct from a Labour Party administration.
Forward in ensuring the highest standards of conduct and good governance within our party. Today's ceremony is the result of a lot of internal deliberation, public consultation, and hard work. I would like to thank once again the members of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party's Code of Ethics Committee and its chairperson, our chairperson for this afternoon's event, Ms. Shibata.
Thereafter, Labour Party Deputy Leader Marcella Liebert said that they took 4 steps as a party to lead the ethics of conduct.
Do this include 1. Reviewing and amending our party's constitution. 2. Reorganization of our branches. 3. Reform of the candidate selection process as a means of improving transparency. And 4thly, the establishment of a Code of Ethics Committee with a view towards implementing a Code of Ethics by which all candidates and executive members will be governed.
I am Chiari Morton for Skn Newsline.
I'm on board the Symphony of the Seas, the largest cruise ship in the world, docking at the smallest independent country in the world, right here in St. Kitts at Port Zante. I'm Andre Huyn. Like I said, I'm coming to you from the Symphony of the Seas. The inaugural visit was greeted with dignitaries from St. Kitts and Nevis, including the Governor General, Sir Tapley Seaton, Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris, Deputy Prime Minister Sean Richards, Minister of Tourism Lindsay Grant, and other dignitaries from the government of St. Kitts and Nevis, as well as from those in the tourism stakeholders from the Tourism Ministry and the Tourism Authority. The Symphony of the Seas brought on shore, or actually brought to St. Kitts, over 6,000 passengers and crew members. And the captain of the vessel had the chance to speak at a brief welcoming ceremony for the ship on board Symphony of the Seas. The captain is Captain Rod Hempstead.
Wonderful to be in this port for the first time with the largest cruise ship in the world and the flagship, the Royal Caribbean. Very proud moment for us all.
Also addressing the gathering, or also addressing the ceremony, is Minister of Tourism Lindsay Grant, and he pointed out that it is an historic moment indeed, because another vessel, the Norwegian Jade, also made its inaugural visit. It's actually docked right next to the Symphony of the Seas here at Port Zante.
An historic occasion, and it will go down in the annals of cruise history in St. Kitts and Nevis. Because as my CEO said, it is a day when, for the first time ever in our history, we are welcoming 2 ships for the first time, 2 inaugurals, the Norwegian Jade and now the largest ship in the world, Symphony of the Seas. It is also historic because it follows on from July of 2018, when we welcomed Freedom of the Seas and welcomed to our shores 1 million passengers in any given cruise year. That's a record also.
We also heard from the Minister of Public Infrastructure and the Minister in charge of SCASPA, the St. Christopher Air and Seaports Authority, Minister Ian Liburd, who also pointed out the importance of the new cruise pier, which is under construction.
My colleague mentioned the construction of the new cruise pier on your starboard side, I think it is. And just to add, that cruise pier will cost us $43 million US. In our money, so $130 million. And for the cabinet led by a Prime Minister, Minister of Finance, who has a PhD in accounts, for him to approve that, he must have seen returns on the investment. And we depend on you to ensure that we expedite those returns on the capital we are expending on that particular pier.
And the various representatives, they had a chance to exchange plaques. Minister of Tourism, the Minister himself as well as Mr. Perkins on behalf of the Lille Walwyn. And the parties, the media and the other guests who were welcome on board had a chance to tour the vessel later on throughout the day. Reporting on the largest cruise ship docking at Port Zante in St. Kitts, the Symphony of the Seas, I'm Andre Huey for SKN Newsline. The motion of no confidence filed by opposition leader Dr. Denzil Douglas against Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris was defeated in the National Assembly on Christmas Eve, but not before the opposition accused the Speaker of colluding with the government to stifle debate on the motion. Dr. Douglas spoke for about 2 hours, where he accused the Prime Minister of nepotism, corruption and poor leadership.
The Prime Minister failed to abide by the laws and regulations set out in the Procurement and Contract Administration Act, and has ensured that contracts that were once approved by the Ministry of Public Works are now being approved by the Office of the Prime Minister. And whereas the Prime Minister, as Minister of Finance, has refused to consent to the publication of the IMF country surveillance report, thereby denying the citizens of the country their right to information contained therein. And whereas the Prime Minister has failed to produce and make public the audited financial statements of key financial institutions such as Social Security and the St. Kitts Nevis Development Bank.
Dr. Douglas was interrupted several times throughout his presentation.
Of things in St. Kitts Nevis right now is that the Prime Minister can order the police to pick up anyone, to arrest for any reason at all.
Must object to that statement.
For something.
Outlandish
you
as
understand?
it is.
This is what
outlandish.
Honourable Member for number 6, there's a point of order.
I wanted to object to the outlandish statement from the member for number 6. He knows better, but he cannot control himself from being irresponsible in these remarks.
In response to Dr. Douglas's presentation, Parliamentary Representative for Nevis 9, Premier Mark Brantley, dismissed the motion as more of the same.
There's been no new allegation. There's been zero evidence that has been provided. Indeed, let me remind the House and the nation that we just had 5 days of budgetary debates. 5 days. And each and every member in this honourable House was afforded an opportunity to speak. The mover of this very motion spoke for well over 2 hours on that budget.
That's the budget.
And these were the same matters.
Not true.
And so I have had regard to the rules, Mr. Speaker. And under the rules, I am advised that pursuant to Rule 41, and I quote, a minister may conclude a debate on any motion which is critical of the government or reflects adversely on or is calculated to bring discredit upon the government or government officer. As a minister, I move that this debate be concluded and that a vote occur so that we can bring an end to the sherry.
Mr. Brantley's call for the debate on the motion to end and for the vote to begin was seconded by Deputy Prime Minister Sean Richards, but not before the opposition members protested the decision.
It says in section 1, the mover of a motion
may reply, and let me say this very clearly, the mover of the motion may reply after all the other members present have had an opportunity of addressing the National Assembly and before the question is put. And after such reply, no other member may speak except as provided in the paragraph that the member quoted. I know, Mr. Speaker, that he went... except as Mr. Speaker, except I think I'm on the floor here. The question is very clear. After such reply, this is the only condition which paragraph 2 can apply. I know that the member from number 9 went to law school and I think he's a big lawyer and he very well understands the rule.
In the end, the votes were cast and the motion voted against by government MPs.
With the question, be it resolved that this Honourable House express grave concern that the Prime Minister represents a clear and present danger to democracy in this country, and his activities have belittled and denigrated the esteemed office of Prime Minister and has tarnished the good name and standing of this country both regionally and internationally. Those in favour of this resolution? Aye. Those against?
No. Dr. Douglas claimed a grave injustice was committed against the people and their right to hear their representatives to debate the motion. The parliamentarians then went on to give statements on the adjournment, sending Christmas wishes to their constituents before closing what should be the last meeting of Parliament for 2018. I'm Andre Huey, reporting for Skn Newsline.